Welcome to the NFL Conference Final Weekend of the Sports Phenom Show, the best damn sports betting show on the planet, where you get all of my capping insight and picks on every game in under 30 minutes. No boring gibberish, only the main points that need to be said, and no commercials, just the way we like it. I am the owner of SportsBettingPhenoms.com, better known as the Phenom, World Series of Handicapping Champion. I run the only site on the planet where all of our cappers had to go through a rigorous qualifying process, all of which did so with at least a 60% record and unprecedented units of profits. Max lines of minus 150. Different tier levels based on each capper's performance, where all results are fully documented from day one, and all of our packages are 100% guaranteed to profit. No one else offers what we do at more than fair pricing and unprecedented results you simply can't find anywhere else. Okay, quick recap of my playoff results to this point. Going 3-2 on both your wild card and divisional rounds for a total of 6-4 overall. I think it's fair to say that I deserved better fate in both of those 2 weekends. With a little bit more luck, I could have just as easily went 5-0. But hey, we'll never complain about winning weeks. The only game that really disappointed me in these first 2 weeks of the playoffs was that Detroit loss. That is still haunting me to this day. I can honestly say, admittedly, that I never saw that coming. I've been doing this a very long time, and there are still surprises to this day in my career. That is one of them. Unfortunately, I'm not perfect, who is? But I'm also not one that is ever satisfied, even going 3-2 in the wild card and divisional rounds. I'm just that type of person. I expect and aim for perfection. It's just in my DNA. It's in my nature, folks. I am so passionate that I want to win every single game. And if I'm to be respected for anything, let it be mostly for that passion. That's why I am who I am and what I've become, the credibility that I've earned, the accolades that I've achieved, and what you've seen here all season long. Nothing but non-stop winning. So again, I have a 6-4 playoff record. And even more impressive, 166 victories with only 100 losses on the season. That is my overall record on every play that I've released here on this YouTube podcast from week 1 right until this weekend's action. Folks, that's 62%. Over 266 selections. I am more than confident that is by far the best record on YouTube and more than likely the planet. I mean, I challenge anyone to tell me different. It's funny. A bit of a side bit here. I recently came across a tweet on X. Just happened to pop up on my phone the other day. From a somewhat known name in the industry, I would say. An individual that has some respected accolades, admittedly. And as do I. Yet this individual was boosting on this tweet about his 53% record being quote unquote great. I had a little chuckle, just like I just did right now again. And even though I don't usually respond to these types of tweets, not much of a social media kind of guy, to be honest with you. Neither have I ever been one looking for the spotlight, so to speak. But in this one case, I couldn't resist, just because of who this individual is and what he was saying on this tweet comment. So in this instance, I responded and mentioned my 62% record here on these podcasts. And funny enough, didn't receive a direct reply. I wasn't expecting one. I mean, hey, documentation, proof is in the pudding. When you're boasting about your 53% with the accolades that this individual has, and here I am, out here giving a free season of the NFL, again, absolutely free, and hitting 62% of my plays. What does that make my plays? What does that make my record? If your 53% is great, and hey, again, you have a name, you have accolades, no one's going to argue with you. It's not much profit as you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with you. I mean, there are profits to be made at 53%, but really, how much? Unless you're an absolute high roller, betting 10 times a game, you're not going to be making that much money at 53%. So I'm mentioning this because, again, here I am doing this for free to top it all off and hitting 62%. And then he went on to say how his clients that are hitting closer to 55%, or if he would be hitting closer to 55%, would be a millionaire. And doing so just betting a little bit more money. Well, I don't know what kind of money these guys are betting, but again, you need to be betting 10 to 20 times a game to be making millions, as its individual said, at that type of percentage. So, hey, call it what you will. But again, I'm out here not just hyping my record with an ego, but you got people with names out there, accolades, maybe even more time experience than I have. I have 30 years. That's a lot. And I've more than proven myself. Maybe some have 40, 50 years. But you're boasting about 53%. I'm out here hitting 62%, and I'm giving these plays absolutely free? How about you document your plays, 266 of them on YouTube, and compare to me? Anybody, I challenge anybody out there. I am the absolute bargain of the industry. I cannot be topped. I cannot be beat. Nobody can even come close. And I just gave you the season for free. I'm not looking for the spotlight, as I said, but hey, maybe it's time. Everybody finds out about who I am, what I can do, and what I did do this season, what I've done every single year. And for those of you that say, well, 266 selections isn't a lot of games, trust me, it is. Especially when we're talking about against the spread lines, or as my service rules state, we don't have any lines over minus 150 from any capper on straight up plays. So that is a lot of plays. But if you want to go one step further, just for documentation's sake, just for example's sake, I have nearly 3,000 documented selections on my website at sportsbettingphenoms.com. Nearly 3,000, folks. And of those 3,000, I have a documented record of 62.7%. 62.7%. Even better overall than what I've shown you in the NFL this season. Now, of course, not a lot of plays left here. I'm at 62 point whatever percent, I think 4. But it just shows. That's where I'm at my whole career. Right in that 62 to 63% range. It doesn't matter if it's 266 selections or if it's 3,000 selections or 10,000 selections. I even did the 100 play initial play challenge on Twitter before I started the site, just like every other capper did on my site in order to qualify to get on the team. There's still other steps, but I did it just to be fair with everybody. I hit 65 out of 100 of those. That's 65%, 65 and 35. Nobody on the planet can even come close to what I do, and I do it for a bargain basement price. I guarantee you that individual or any other handicappers out there that were hitting 62% would be charging 10 times more than I'm charging. So that's some food for thought, folks. If you're looking to get on board and you want to be part of the biggest possible winning that you could ever achieve in this industry, reach out to me. Through my email, through my Twitter account, through my website. You got many ways that you can get in touch with me. I am going to continue to finish this playoff with a win here this weekend and the Super Bowl. You don't want to get your Super Bowl picks from anybody else but me. And for the last time, you're getting it all absolutely free. So I just thought that was funny. I wanted to bring it to your attention. And again, some hell of a food for thought. And now, let's get to this week's games. First game for your conference final weekend. Washington and Philadelphia. Okay, so after predicting nearly everything perfectly this season, the one thing I didn't see happening, as I mentioned earlier, was Washington getting past Detroit. There's no way I would have thought they were going to make the conference finals, admittedly. I'm shocked that they have gotten this far, especially with a rookie quarterback winning 2 on the road here in the playoffs. Shocking the Detroit Lions, who were basically pummeling everybody that got in their way along the way. Detroit also had 2 weeks to get rested and prepared for that game. So I've got to give it to them. Washington surprised me, but they deservedly are here. And now they're going to face the red-hot Philadelphia Eagles. Jaden Daniels has looked like an absolute stud. Now, he didn't have that great of a second half, and that's what kind of threw me off a bit, I'll be honest with you. They had such a nice, strong first half, and then all of a sudden, they kind of start coming back down to earth. They lost a few games in a row to start off the second half of the season. I thought, you know what? This team is going to continue that trend now for the rest of the season and probably fall like Caleb Williams kind of did. But they ended up having a nice finish, and it kind of led into this playoff run now. And again, it's been a surprise to say the least. And what I find even more amazing is how they found a way to win, even though it hasn't looked overly impressive. I mean, who do they really have that stood out wide receiver-wise, running back-wise? No, it's really him, Jaden Daniels, doing everything, making the big throws when he's needed to, getting those third down conversions when he's needed to, making a run when he's needed to. He's really starting to look like a young Lamar Jackson to me with even better throwing percentage and capabilities. So, again, got to give it to these Washington Commanders from 4 wins the previous year to what looks to be a lot to look forward to in years to come and a team to be reckoned with here in the future. Now, it's hard. I'll admit, it's hard not to think they could be the play here in this game, considering what they've now done in these first 2 playoff games, and especially coming off the win against Detroit. But let's not forget something. You're asking them now to win 3 straight road games. It's a bit much. I mean, it's already a lot what they've accomplished, and accomplished it with a rookie quarterback. I mean, if he was to win another game or even get to the Super Bowl, it's one of the most incredible feats that a rookie quarterback has ever accomplished in the NFL history of the game, especially coming off a 4-win campaign the year before without him. I just think it's asking a lot. I mean, if we look back in the regular season, they've never won 3 straight road games And that's against average teams. So I surely don't see them doing it here now in the playoffs against superior juggernaut teams. Especially against this Philadelphia Eagles squad. I mean, don't they just look destined for the Super Bowl at this point? They're able to avoid Detroit now in this round because of Washington's shock and surprise upset. So it just seems like everything's falling into place nicely for Philadelphia here, catching Jaden Daniels and Washington on their third straight road game. Rookie quarterback. The nerves and tension got to be getting higher and bigger now for Washington. I know they have nothing to lose. But Eagles, what a season this team has had. If you remember, they got off to that not-so-great start, 2-2 out of the gate. There was a lot of internal rumblings of rifts between players and coaches, especially Hurts and the coach. Yet somehow, some way, they were able to overcome that. You don't usually see that. These rifts, these internal conflictions and things that are going on usually lead to firings, player changes of personnel, trades, things like that. But that didn't happen. This team somehow stuck together, worked it all out, and turned it around so much to a point where they looked almost unbeatable down the stretch, winning 12 of their last 13. They had a 12-1 run. So that cannot be taken lightly. And now in the playoffs, they have looked just as good. With 2 straight victories, making it a 14-1 run at this point. That's right up there with Kansas City, if you ask me. 15-1 on the season. Or 15, 16-1, 16-2. Doesn't matter. What I'm saying here is, you're to be taken very seriously when you're making runs like that. And the fact you're catching Washington on a third straight road game with a rookie quarterback, I just see Philadelphia being destined. It just seems like a team of destiny this year to make the Super Bowl. What's going to happen then? Who their opponent is? Well, that's yet to be seen. We'll talk about it then. But the only loss, by the way, I want to mention, of this run of 14-1 now to end the season, including the playoffs, came just coincidentally to the Commanders. So how fitting is it that now these Eagles could get their revenge in this spot, and this time at home? That was on the road. Now they're at home. It couldn't be more fitting for a destined team like the Philadelphia Eagles in this spot to avenge that one loss here at home. I mean, you have the Hurts and Barkley running tandem, a tandem of running that Washington just hasn't seen this far, this part of the season. They haven't come across a team like that. Detroit didn't do that with Goff. Tampa Bay didn't do that with Mayfield. And let's not forget, those were 2 very nice, easy weather games. Tampa Bay, perfect weather. Detroit, a dome. And this is going to be a lot different in the frozen tundra of Philadelphia, I'll tell you that. And let's not forget about their fans. It's going to make things very difficult for Jaden Daniels on third down. I see a lot of false starts, some delay of games. That might even cost them a timeout or 2 to avoid them. Things like that. There's a lot that comes into play here in this type of situation, in this spot, when we take a look at everything that's heading in to this game between these 2 teams. So it's not going to be easy. Surely not going to be easy for Jaden Daniels in this spot. And I expect him to finally be facing a team that's going to give him problems. The weather's going to be a factor. And in the end, I simply see this going only one way. And that's with a Philadelphia Eagle win. Now, the only question is by how much? Now, taking a closer look at how I feel this game's going to go with my calculations, my numbers, I see Philly being up around 10-14 in the fourth. Somewhere around midway through the fourth quarter. What bothers me is that 10. If they're sitting there at 10, and then we have a backdoor scenario against a spread that doesn't work out well for us if we take Philly ATS. So in my opinion, there's only one way to go here, and that's to put Philadelphia on a tease, and we are going to match them up with the next game. I'll tell you what we're going to do, so stay tuned for that. Next game, and this is what I call a Super Bowl matchup. It really, too bad that it's not the Super Bowl. Buffalo and Kansas City. Okay, so this is going to be the game of the weekend, in my opinion. Might be the game of the year. It simply does not get better than Buffalo and Kansas City. Now, if you remember back in the regular season, when I told you Buffalo would beat Kansas City and give Kansas City their first loss of the season, took a lot of balls for me to come out and make a prediction like that, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened. One of the main reasons I told you that was because Buffalo always beats them in the regular season. 4 straight times, in fact. Name another team that's even beat the Kansas City Chiefs even twice. More or less 3-4 times in a row in the regular season. But, and there's a big but here, Kansas City always beats Buffalo in the playoffs. Weird, right? Well, maybe not as weird as you may think. Here's my conspiracy theory, and I don't even know if it's much of a conspiracy at all. A theory I've mentioned to you multiple times this season. I believe this is how the league wants it, and more importantly, allows it. Allows being the key word. Listen, folks, this is a real thing. All season long, I've been telling you how the Chiefs have the refs in their back pockets and how the league wants them in the final. It's great for sales and viewership. And this year, there's the added three-peat dynasty possibility in play, which only makes them want them there even more. So if you don't think for 1 second the league doesn't have an impact here, doesn't want Kansas City in the final, so everyone and their grandmothers will be checking in, tuning in to see if that's going to happen, and they are going to three-peat, become that dynasty, then you're nuts. You're absolutely nuts if you don't think that's the case. This is exactly what the league wants, and the refs work for the league. Simple as that. You saw it again last week. Mahomes and the Chiefs getting very questionable calls, right? There's questionable calls in every single Kansas City game. It's got to drive you nuts. That's if you're not betting on them. If you're betting on them, you're laughing, right? Because you know what's going on. But if you're not, you're going nuts. I've learned my lesson too many times. But I'm not going to learn another lesson again in this spot, that's for sure. Nothing's changed there, folks. And what? You think that all of a sudden it's going to stop? Why would it stop? No friggin' way. If anything, they'll get even more calls in this game just because of everything I've mentioned that's on the line. And because the league wants it that way. The league lets Buffalo beat Kansas City in the regular season, and Kansas City avenges that loss in the playoffs. It's the same old song and dance every single year. I believe even more so this year. That's the soap opera of the NFL. Why do you think a lot of people say the no fun league? And if that's not all enough, let's not forget about the Taylor Swift factor. And all the Swifties they want. both tuning into the Super Bowl and purchasing KC merchandise. What, you don't think that's in play? You're out of your mind if you don't think any of this is in play. Not only is it in play, it's all the capping you need to do in this game. As crazy as it may sound. The same song and dance every single season. Buffalo beats them in the regular season. Kansas City avenges a loss in the playoffs. That's exactly what's going to happen here. More than likely again this year. It's just the way the league wants it, and the refs work for the league. Do you think it's a fluke that Buffalo's beat Kansas City 4 straight times in the regular season? Why don't you ask yourself, how is that possible? And it's not just in Buffalo either. They've beat them in Kansas City. How can they beat them in the regular season every time? How? Because they're better? And the league allows it to play out the way it should? By the better team playing a better game and winning? That's right. But it doesn't matter in the playoffs because KC is going to get the calls. They're going to get the league to help them out. And that's what's going to happen again here in this game. How many times has Buffalo beat Kansas City in the playoffs? Never! And this is all coming from someone that absolutely hates Kansas City. I hate them. I especially hate the favoritism they get, okay? I absolutely hate it. Just like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick got back in the New England days. I even believe Buffalo is better than Kansas City this year. And should win this game. If it was a fairly refed game, the league wasn't involved, no Taylor Swift situation, no three-peat dynasty in play, Buffalo beats Kansas City. But it's not the case. It's not even close. I'm not an idiot, and I'm surely not going against the evils that run this no-fun league. You have to be smarter than that. Now, before you start running to the window and pounding on the Chiefs, I want you all to know that if Buffalo is ever going to beat Kansas City, even with the refs helping them, even with the league wanting Kansas City, this is going to be the year. Buffalo is just playing that well. And yes, they have everything going for them heading into this game. And even though everything is also going against them, against this opponent, they have the most valuable player of the league as their general, and Josh Allen, who's going to lead you into this war. And even when you're outnumbered, you still have a sliver of a chance. So, to cover ourselves, we are going to put Kansas City in the tees with the other half of the tees on Philadelphia. And I'm going to give you the exact lines now here in my upcoming Money 5 Best Bets segment, so stay tuned for that. Okay, folks, so now to the Money 5 Best Bets segment of the show. Of course, this week will be the first week that I don't have 5 selections for you. I don't like to force things, so if you're wondering why I didn't give out a plan on one of these totals, I looked at those totals. I wasn't overly confident with either of them, so again, I never force things. I'm sure that's one thing you can respect also about the way I go about things. I know other cappers are going to be forcing it, throwing you out plays just to get viewership. I'm not that type of guy. I'm here to make you money. You want to make money? You follow me. You want to get action? You want to gamble? You go to the other cappers. One play this weekend, all you're going to need. Raise up our playoff record to 7-4. Raise up my incredible overall season record to 167-100 on the year. All you need to do is this. 2-team, 6-point teaser. Philadelphia pick. Kansas City up to 4.5. 2-team, 6-point teaser. Philadelphia pick 'em. Kansas City plus 4.5. Take it to the bank. That's all you're going to need here in your conference final weekend. Okay, folks, so that's going to do it for your conference final weekend. I am the Phenom. Wish you all an amazing week. Let's get this money. See ya.